This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feast and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games. I am the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am George Feast, and today we are playing American Tag Team Wrestling. How is this game going to hold up? Will it get a Play It Forever? Woo! Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
We also discuss our dream video games, the wrestling code, and a whole lot more.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, and follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get this very episode early and ad-free, along with the show notes, along with Discord access, along with Softlock Question of the Week, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. George, what is up? If anyone hears Baby Yoda noises over the next hour, my daughter is literally right next to me, staring at me, smiling right now, eating a toy. So
it's the third host. She is officially the third host of the podcast. Sorry, Swoggle.
She doesn't cry, but her noises will be super adorable and distract you. So
you know what? And I feel like maybe with
same with Swoggle.
Also, yes, and maybe with today's game, maybe we need that, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. But yeah, I got to tell you, man, we talk about video games a lot off the podcast, and obviously on the podcast, and I'm back into Snap.
You're back into Snap, baby.
Yeah, so I took the last 2-3 seasons. It's been about maybe I would say it's been like five or 6 months since I played. But
I feel like the seasons used to be so long, and now they're monthly.
Yeah, I'm back in it though, in like the worst way possible, where I'm just like, oh no, I like this game way more than I like remembered, and I think I needed to step away to come back and appreciate it. It's like a whole new game now.
Well, they also added more that you could do with like the conquests and all that, even though I can't get past platinum or whatever, gold. I can't get to platinum. But that's okay.
It sucked coming back and being, it's like, you're ranked 13. And I'm like, oh.
I'm sure you got up real quick, though.
I was way higher. I was in like the 50s or the 60s, and we stopped.
I'm hovering like 87 now, but I can't get up to 90 again. But I think I will over the next 3 weeks before the season's over.
The last season, right? You said you got up really high?
97, and then I started to decline, and I just left it because it was the last day, and I didn't want to drop down too far.
Don't want to risk it, yeah.
But anyway, what else you been playing? We've been playing Fortnite. I got my first solo dub, which is crazy because back when I used to play this like a lot, I only got 2 ever, and I got it on the TV on the Xbox, not PC. But me and you played, we did okay. Me and my other friend played, we did okay. Now, he used to be so good back in the day, like ridiculous, like putting up 20s, that I think playing with him again, the skill-based matchmaking is still off. It was so sweaty. I was like, this is you. Yeah,
I was going to say, is it because maybe you took some time off that when you come back, like
I think that's why I'm playing good, because everyone's a fucking bot in there.
Yeah, I would say literally they're actual bots. Yeah. I had a friend who came back after not playing for a long time, and he was just like, how come this game feels so much easier? And I'm like, oh, because there's actually like bots, like and AI in the game now.
Yeah, and no building.
Oh God, I love that so much.
But I downloaded Starfield, haven't played it yet. I think today might be the day after we are done.
Oh,
I played a bunch today. I played Madden, I played NHL. I was so bored. I was having work done at the house. It was just me and Grogu over here. And I was just ripping through some games before my controller actually said, hey, your batteries are dead. Fix this. But I wanted to talk about a game that I haven't been too nice to over the past 4 years, which is crazy. The Wrestling Code. I wanted to get to the bottom of some things, so I tweeted at them, and I just wanted some questions answered, and they didn't really do much of the answering. They kind of chimed in here and there, but one of their I guess one of their, what do you call it, fans?
Yeah.
Was giving me some info.
Supporter.
Yeah. So there's over 1,000. Wow. Oh, well, it seems like it. There's over 100 announced wrestlers, and they want to do mocap for each wrestler, which I think is absolutely insane and absurd. I don't understand that at all.
That's a daunting task.
It's cool if you can get it done.
Super cool. But that's a huge task to put on.
But Little Guido can't walk. I've tagged with him. He can't walk. Do you want him representing himself in the game as the 50 whatever year old, or do you want him like a young guy to portray him and do all his moves better?
I would imagine there's got to be some way where you can get the mocap and then clean it up or do something to it to make it.
I would think, right?
Yeah.
Dre41 Gaming is directing the creative suite tools and needs, which I think is awesome because we are big fans of Dre here.
Oh, yeah.
His mods and all his customs are insane. So good. We actually wanted to get him on here, which we still can. I think
now probably even makes more sense than it did before.
We both kind of got a little busy at the time. They're also using PW mods, and there was someone else that they are having in here. Trying to find it. Wolfgang JT78 is helping with character feedback and reference direction for our hand sculpted 3D models. That's also another very well respected customizer in the game, a call creator for the Xbox. So I like that they're involving the community here
in like the best way possible, because who better than the
Canyon?
People who actually, well, yes.
Oh, Canyon announced for UPW. That was awesome.
Oh man, that
give
artwork.
Me Saturn, baby. Give me Saturn.
That artwork, man. Oh man. But I just need selfishly, I need Saturn and Canyon to be in every game so that we can always just have GMP 64 forever.
Absolutely. But I don't know. Then they said that the wrestling code might launch with only like 30 wrestlers, and then they get added along, which I don't know. I don't know about that.
So this is the argument of, would you rather it be done or be done right?
Right.
It's a question of which
we're pushing 4 years here. They announced
which is more important.
February of 2020. That's almost 2019. We're almost in 2024.
It's, like I said, it's a big task that they've undertook.
But at this point, do you just stay silent and work, or do you keep giving little tidbits here and there to get people excited? Because I think it's also turning some people off. Listen, I'm getting the game no matter what. It's a wrestling game.
Yeah.
My friends are in it. I'm going to want to play it. And then I'll make my assessment. I can't right now say, oh, this game is going to be trash, because I don't know that it's going to be trash.
Well, we know for a fact. I think we were there when one of our friends signed the contract. We were both in the room.
Yes, we were. One of us might have taken the picture of them holding the contract that was posted. And that friend also bailed on us last week, and he's very sorry, and we will have him on soon.
Well, he also got engaged now, which I'm assuming is part of the reason why he had to bail. I'm assuming there was some planning that had to go into that just a little bit. So huge congratulations out to Mr. Bear Bronson.
That's right. And Gabby Forza. I'm going to go see both of them. He will always be
Bear Bronson to me, but
yeah, I'm going to go see both of them in about 3 hours at Create a Pro Wrestling. I'm back on the commentary table, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm also doing Cap TV lives from now on commentary. Oh. So your boy got himself a seat at the table, and I'm very excited about that.
You and Mr. DeLuciano?
Yes, sir. 2 Islander fans calling the heat. I love it.
Hell yes.
Now we're here for one reason, and that is American Tag Team Wrestling. We did our little rant. We talked about the wrestling code, how excited we are for UPW. But are we ready for this old-ass game on the Amiga?
I feel like I'm going to take your role this week. I don't know if I'm necessarily ready and excited to talk about this game, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's go into this week's Deep Dive.
Before we start, we got a little caught up the past few weeks with recording early and storing some episodes in the chamber so we could release them at our convenience. We never mentioned our thoughts, our everything about Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk happening. That was kind of took everybody by surprise. And man, I mean, Terry Funk, obviously a legend. Everybody knows the
100%.
stories. Everybody's seen his death matches. You watch those matches and you're like, oh my God. But that's now, of course, I'm going back and I'm watching more. I'm like, oh my God, I should have seen these years ago. But there's someone like Bray Wyatt. We've seen him since Husky Harris.
Oh, Bray.
And I mean, we've both picked him many times playing these games over the years, whether in 2K, whether creating him in No Mercy. I mean, one of my favorite wrestlers. It's just sad. I was in a segment with him on SmackDown years ago, and he could not have been nicer. Even crazier that Brody was also in that segment, even though nobody knows because he was under a mask.
It's wild so for me, obviously now as an adult, going back and watching Terry Funk matches to appreciate and get more knowledge on the legend that is Terry Funk. But for me, as a kid, it was always Chainsaw Charlie.
Yeah. And there was kind of like you knew it was Terry Funk, but
yeah. Like I had an older cousin who like used to watch Terry Funk, and he was just like, "That's just Terry Funk." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's Chainsaw Charlie." What are you talking about? Like I was like a kid arguing with my cousin. Like, what are you? No, if his name was Terry Funk, it would say Terry Funk.
Yeah. I don't know. They will both greatly be missed. Yeah, it's just still hard to believe that like Bray's gone, but
it's and it's a hard thing to talk about because, I mean, one, Bray's passing was incredibly sudden, but like he's my age, like he's only a couple of years older than you. Like that is
me like the 4 kids. I'm like sitting here looking at her like, damn,
it's crazy.
A lot into perspective. But all right, you know what? Let's
thoughts and prayers out to both.
Let's bring it back up now. Let's bring it back up. Sorry, we kind of missed that the past 2 weeks. I'm glad we could reflect a little bit, though. I would love to do a deep dive on both of them, even though both aren't in many games. Maybe we could do a twofer. I don't know.
Yeah,
could be cool.
I think Bray's got a decent number of appearances.
He was in. I don't want to backtrack even more. The one with Jacob Cass, I remember Husky Harris was in, and he was prominent in the storyline with voice lines and everything.
Yeah.
So
it may not be as difficult as we think. But all right, with that, let's talk about today's episode.
Bring it back up. High spirits.
American Tag Team Wrestling, released 1992 for the Amiga, Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, published by Zeppelin Games, developed by Zeppelin Games, and other games that you've got in the wrestling world. In 1992, you've got WWF Superstars 2, WWF European Rampage Tour.
Also a computer game, right?
Yep, WWF Super WrestleMania, WWF WrestleMania Super Steel Cage Challenge, Thunder Pro Wrestling Retsuden, Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Legend Bout, and Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2.
Good company. Gotta say, good company. A lot of similar games here. European Rampage, Super WrestleMania, Steel Cage Challenge, kind of, similar. Superstars 2 on the Game Boy, and then your Fire Pros and your Thunder Pros. Pretty
always
pretty
in
diverse
there.
here.
I feel like we always have them in the fold of what came out that year.
But now comparing this game we're about to talk about to all of the games we just named, this one is very, very low on the totem pole here.
It's low on the totem pole and a completely different, like comparing this to European Rampage Tour to Super WrestleMania, wild. But
European Rampage Tour, I believe, was also on. What was that on?
I think it's a DOS game.
It's a DOS game. Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit ahead of the curve. It looks ahead of the curve. This game it's rough. There's a lot going on the screen, and depending on where you're playing it, it's all also look very different.
Commodore 64, Amiga, DOS, Atari.
Okay, I thought so. They're just so different, and I don't think you're picking American Tag Team Wrestling if you're looking at this list here.
So to think about that WWF WrestleMania, like the original WrestleMania, available in the archive. I believe we either played that with the CPA or Phil Cardigan. I know that there's a guest on that episode, but to look at the graphics and remember the play style of that, by no means a fantastic game.
Nick Stout is there for us.
Looks significantly better than this, and that comes out a year before on all the same consoles, available on the Amstrad CPC, DOS, Commodore 64, Amiga, Atari. This just feels very
rushed,
one-dimensional.
Okay,
like
I can see that.
This feels almost like it's a mid-'80s kind of game.
I could see that. It's very arcadey in a way. It feels unfinished because it's so bare bone.
Yeah. That's exactly the same. Like that's a more polished way to say what I was trying to say. It just is not as polished.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get into what this game consists of, what you're actually doing in here. So it's like the title says, revolving around tag teams. So it's a tag team tournament, much like you see in a lot of games, and we've talked about them here, much like what we played on the WrestleMania Superstars, the arcade game. It's a tag team tournament, and your goal is to win the tag team titles by taking down your opponents. The game was released 2 years after WrestleMania 7, which ended kind of the 80s wrestling boom, so this kind of came out of nowhere. And a lot of the characters are kind of like based on rip-off WWF wrestlers, and some of them are based off of just, I don't even know, weird-looking creatures.
Look that way, but like the what's it called? The sprites in the match don't necessarily. We'll talk about that in depth a little bit more, but to say that the sprites in the match don't match the advertised profile picture is being generous, I think.
What do we say? They all look like Cody Rhodes? They're all dashing Cody Rhodes or indie Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And no matter what you are, like the Mad Corpses, one of the guys is blue. You're still Cody Rhodes.
Everyone's Cody Rhodes.
It's crazy.
This is adrenaline in my soul. Everyone is Cody Rhodes.
The whole game's in my soul.
That's what it is.
But the gameplay's a little weird. It's kind of two tag teams, and they each have specialties, but at the end of the day, they're both just kicking and punching and doing like weird moves. There's just some grapple moves in here, and you kind of hit them at random, it seems.
I will say this. The controls that they let you have over the grapple moves is interesting. It's almost like what you get now with the carry mechanics in like the normal like 2K. Like you could pick someone up for a gorilla press and then just walk around with them for a little bit, and you can.
There's also like slingshot shoot pile drivers out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like jumping tombstones.
So that's if you're button mashing. If you find yourself where you're just like button mashing trying to get the grapples, you'll pick someone up and immediately do a move. Where like if you go for the gorilla press, you can walk around, you could throw them out of the ring, and then they immediately just like they hang out on the outside for a little bit, and then they get in. It's interesting. Like that mechanic was like, oh, that kind of caught me off guard the first time I was playing through it. And I was like, that actually is kind of fun.
The part that caught me off guard was the time limit on the matches. So they're best of threes, and they're only 2-minute rounds each. So if you're not punching and kicking your little heart out, you're probably not going to win the round. And then the fall's just kind of decided there.
They're not giving you a ton of time to win these matches by any means.
If you get a pin off and the health is low, most likely it's going to be a 3 count because the games are so quick. So that's kind of something to think about when playing this.
And the health drops pretty fast.
It does, but you could actually recover when you go out of the ring or when you tag your partner in. So then your partner comes in full health. Which is to be expected.
Very normal tag team mechanic. We've seen it used to some success in other games that we've had.
But in that sense, I'm glad that it's 2-minute rounds because we've played games where it regenerates and we just keep going. We just keep going and going. It's
crazy. It's crazy. For me, a part that I thought was, I mean, aside from the fact that we already touched on the fact that everyone looks like Cody Rhodes, are are the names of the characters and how they look. We talked briefly about how different they are from how they appear in the ring to the actual characters themselves. But the sprites and the tag team names are just ridiculous. And I guess this kind of counts as a roster breakdown. Should we break this down?
Let's break it down here.
Okay, so you have the Mad Corpses, where you have just
Blonde John Cena and Mr. America.
I was gonna say it almost looks like it's supposed to be like maybe like Paul Orndorff.
Okay, yeah, okay. Maybe even some Bruno.
Yeah. And then who's his tag team partner supposed to be? I'm trying to think. I want to see
like
what
Mr. America if his face was permanently colored blue. Does that make any sense?
Is it supposed to be like Blue Demon Jr.?
I don't think they thought just Blue that Demon? Much through it. But then next we have Bob, who looks like grown-up Tommy Pickles, and Dead Frank, who looks like a grandmother.
Yeah, and then you have Ratman and Bobbin?
Yeah, Batman and Robin.
Batman and Bobbin.
Ratman and Bobbin, who look nothing like Batman and Robin. And we got like a blonde guy and then Grandpa from the Jackie Chan Adventures.
I thought it was a baby with a pacifier at first.
It's possible.
And I was like, this is an odd combination. But no, I definitely think it's supposed to be an old man with like a goatee. But at a quick glance, when the images are very small, you're like, oh no, that's a baby with a pacifier.
And eggs and teeth might be my favorite. It's just a guy with giant glasses and then just a close up of teeth. But when you enter the game, he's Cody Rhodes.
And then you have the trashed men, which is Groucho Marx and Stan Hansen.
Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah. Maybe it's like old Super Mario.
Yeah, I could see that too. The Thicko Heads. It sounds like Mike Tyson saying the sick heads. The Thicko Heads. It's kind of like there. I think you might have like a Von Erich or something mixed with Wilson from Home Improvement hiding behind a fence.
That's very true. Then you have, what does that say?
The Nanaman? The Mad Nanaman.
Which very clearly like a Iron Sheik kind of reference. And then
is that a king?
I was going to say it almost looks like it was supposed to be someone wearing like a crown and like the like that fur tuft around like the royal jackets. I don't really know.
And then
Ronald?
Is that Ronald or is that cut off? It looks like Honnold.
See, here's the thing. We have the power to make these things bigger.
We do, but it still looks like Honnold. And Heggie. Okay. Which is a clown and a blonde dude.
Yeah. Maybe it's supposed to be like Ronald McDonald and...
So only the Mad Corpses, the Thicko Heads, and Mad Nanaman don't have... Will you let me finish my sentence?
She has opinions.
She does. She said she does not like that they are a tag team name and you don't know their actual names here. But you can actually do a King of the Ring style tournament and singles matches in here as well.
It is difficult to navigate, and I'm saying this as someone who does not have a ton of experience playing either the Commodore or the Amiga. Very hard to navigate throughout the games because the joystick, doing any kind of emulation with this is incredibly difficult because unless you have the actual hardware with you, it's insanely difficult. Again, Commodore was not one of my systems. It's not something that I played a ton of, but also very much aware that without this system and without, what this game did, we may not be where we are today. So I appreciate it for what it is.
Let's talk about this cover here. This is like a VHS type cover with the American Tag Team Wrestling logo, the Zeppelin logo.
Okay, so here's what we've got. Let me zoom in and get as close.
It's written in like slang, and I know it's in the UK, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
And it's also like black text on not a very light background, so it's also like reverse text is kind of hard to read.
I don't know what version of Photoshop they had in 92.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so this says, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the fight of the century between teams of brawn, muscle, and brains. Get a ringside seat and flip to the belly flops and groan at the thud of jaw against canvas and holler to the mystery mask irk. Okay. Here, give me the mic. Listen up, you chicken-livered cowardly custards. You wouldn't last 10 seconds in the ring with me.
Oh.
Because I'm the champ and I aim to stay champ. Whatever it takes. Grr.
Who's saying this?
I don't know.
So
apparently Zeppelin Games is saying it because that's what's at the bottom.
This is the Amstrad cover.
Yeah.
Why does it look like a Medusa on the cover?
Maybe. You know what it is? That's Ratman and Bob. On the other side, though, there is text on the other side. It says American Tag Team Wrestling consists of 3 2-minute rounds of fantastic ring action packed full of, I can't say what it says because it prints on black text on the black turnbuckle, and that's very difficult to see. So for some reason, I can't read that. And then it says 1 or 2 player options, full American Tag Team Wrestling rules, keyboard joystick controls, multi something team selection. Why would you print black text on a black turnbuckle? That is insane. Okay, we're going to do our best here. But for some reason they did. So there's a large section of this that I can't really read. And then it says World Champion Tournament options, enjoyable gameplay based on skillful something, Wonder Energy, multiple rounds, great bouts, and lots more. Again, like John said, this is the Amstrad cover that we are looking at. You've got your 3 screenshots on the back showing all of the different matches, which is essentially just looking like the same match. And then can we please
Cody.
Can we please talk about that this game for the Amstrad is a cassette tape?
How does that work? It blows my mind. Honestly, it honestly blows my mind that a cassette even plays music. The fact that it could play a game also blows my mind.
But it's so cool that it's on a cassette tape, though. Like, that's wild.
It is. It also comes in floppy form on the Amiga.
That's funny. So do we.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I'm not. So you come in floppy on your Amiga. Okay, got it.
Okay, when you say it like that.
So you struggled to read the back here. You could have just read the Amiga back because it's the same thing right here, written in yellow on black. It would have been a lot easier for you. Well. Now, we already kind of talked about the art style. That's your turn.
You have to do this now. You have to read this part.
Yeah, the art style and the graphics here. We mentioned that they're different across each platform, so we're kind of going to break it down here. But when you go and you get this on the Amiga, you're going to get the more colorful, the more drawn out version. I think this is the best version of it. You're going to get the full color palette. You're going to get the crowd in the background. And I like that the crowd's very dimensional. Like, they're not just papery on top of each other. There's actually like you can see the layers of them, even though they're right on top of the ring. They could be, pushed back a little more, maybe give the wrestlers
it's like a PWG show. They're like right there.
Yeah, or how like Beyond Wrestling used to, with no guardrails. Now, you get to the user select screen and you get them side by side, but in this case, they're up and down. Oh boy. Okay, so there's pretty big differences here. So it's not on each version that they're identical. So the Amiga, we said they're different colored Cody Rhodes. The Commodore, they're like a little bit different. They're more like John Cena-y, a little more colors. But the whole color palette of the entire screen is more dim. It's more NES style. It's got the black background instead of the crowd. And the ring isn't at that like good perspective. It's kind of just straight up and down, which always looks weird because that's not how things really look.
It's
the ZX Spectrum looks like a Game Boy where everything's like yellowed out. And then also no crowd. And then the Amstrad CPC is very similar to what we said. The Commodore 64 is like just the wrestlers are going to look the same and it's a little more bare bones. So
you like
the Amiga is the best one here.
You nailed the description of it looking like a Game Boy. That I think is the most. It's really hard to kind of pinpoint the different versions of this. Is to be like this looks like this looks because we're still like at this point. There's not. You're basically comparing things with like similar hardware and things like that. Like there are leaps and bounds to come, but like it's wild to think about. Like this is one game. And I feel like we don't have a ton of these. It's one game on multiple platforms that essentially feels like a different game on every platform. And I know that we've talked about other games that are like that, but I don't think there's that many.
No. I think it comes down to like the European Rampage tours and like those types of games. Or even, I guess we could say like Raw, Royal Rumble for Sega and Super Nintendo, but like very bare differences. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool that it's multi-platform, but my God, the Amiga one is light years better than the others. Do you remember we talked last week about how you used to get like the Star Wars discs and all that, but did you used to get floppy disk games? Like I had the book of them.
So I had Pitfall. I feel like everyone had Pitfall.
Doom 98.
I think I had Oregon Trail.
Yeah, okay. Those random compilations of like all those weird games that
I think I definitely had a Doom. I feel like everyone had a Doom game at one point or another.
Yeah, this is all great, and I would pick the Amiga over any of these. But did you know? Did you know some of these wrestlers are based on real-world WWF wrestlers like Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and The Missing Link?
Hold on. I'm scrolling up to the roster. I got to find who's Macho Man.
You're really screwing up my my music flow here.
That's fine. The music can do a hard cut. Is it supposed to be Macho King? No.
Yeah, maybe the Mad Na.
Is it supposed to be, I guess, Macho King?
Maybe. I mean, there's a few that could be Hogan in here. There's
I would say
blonde dudes.
Ratman or... Yeah.
Anyway, resume.
Interesting. Did you know that American Tag Team Wrestling is on eBay for $6.98 used on the Commodore 64 and $22.43 on the Spectrum?
All right. I mean, are you purchasing?
I think I'll pass.
Yeah. Yeah, not something I need. I was tagged in a post the other day that was show me your collection, and someone's like, oh, this is right up Clash's alley. Show us your collection. And I was like, here's my collection. And it was a picture of my computer. Because throughout the years, I wish there were so many games I kept, but I just didn't. I have like the PlayStation 1 games because they were pretty much valueless when you went to GameStop to trade them in or EB Games. The PlayStation 2 games, those are all gone. I don't have a PlayStation 2, so I just got rid of them. The only one I have here is Here Comes the Pain that you tried to steal. I now have Sega games because I rebought them for my... Oh, yeah, you bought them too? You're going to play them one day. But like everything's digital now, so I haven't bought a game in a couple years. And I don't know, like there's no collection.
There are a few games. So my hopes and dreams of having a great video game collection.
Oh, like James Deegan
are over. Are over. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a huge undertaking, and credit to everyone who does it. I don't think that I have the real estate for it. It's an insane amount of games. Go and watch back the James Deegan interview and look at that massive wall of consoles. And that's just consoles. There were no games on that from what I remember.
Yeah.
It was just every console. That means that for every game that he wants to play, he's got to either, I mean, for the more modern consoles, I guess you can have like an external storage that could all be hooked up. But for everything else, that's all cartridges and like that's an insane amount of stuff to have. And it just, I feel like you would have to get an entire house just to have.
Well, that's pretty much what he did, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm just done kind of collecting, and I don't know. I'll play what I want to play when I want to play it. I still have a lot of my childhood stuff, but I don't have everything. Wish I did, but I just don't. But all right, are you ready for some ratings and reviews here? Because I actually found some, which is crazy.
Well, take me through it.
All right, and I got some critic reviews here now on the ZX Spectrum. Your Sinclair gives it an 86. Sinclair User gives it an 84. Commodore Format gives it a 60 and a 57. And Commodore Amiga, I don't know what all these are. I'm assuming they're like European, gives it a 45. Amiga Power, which just read, 23. And Commodore Force also with a 23. So overall, not that good of a game, not that good of scores.
Well,
because it's not that good of a game.
I was just going to say, do we just want to get this out of the way? Do we want to do the official lead it into it? Because,
lead on in.
Well, now it's time for the most important part. Most important rating, and that's our rating because, John, it's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, John, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to 3, 2, 1 it?
Talk about it. 3, 2, 1. Future Endeavor.
You're fired!
Yeah.
Goodbye, buddy.
It looks good for what it is. It's compared to what else is out at the time. It's not great, but
I think we're past this for 1992.
Yeah, I also do. I'm trying to say
like an
something
80s
nice
game
about it. In the beginning of the episode, I talked about how I didn't like the graphics, and now I'm just contradicting myself, but I'm trying to say something nice about it.
I mean, in 92, you're playing Streets of Rage. You're playing Super Mario Land 2. You're playing Mario Kart. You're playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Final Fantasy 5. And then there's this. Mortal Kombat.
Oh, man.
Mega Man 5. Batman Returns. Like, all this stuff. I don't know.
I can't.
It's a dollar store game that you find for an older console when you're already playing in the newer console. That's it.
Cut, there's nothing else to it. But I want to know, for the people out there, if you've played this game, if you have any experience, memories, knowledge of this game, let us know what you thought somewhere on the internet at Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. But with that, John, are you ready to get into this week's Soft Lock?
Let's do it.
All right, the Soft Lock is a weekly segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to ask, question of the week, whatever you want to call it. We call it the Soft Lock. And a reminder that you can submit your own Soft Lock questions by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. You get access to the Soft Lock show notes and a whole lot more for just $5 every month. And this week, the question comes from our good friend Justin Summers. And Justin's question is, build a dream arcade machine with these specifications. You need 1 retro 80s game, 1 pinball machine. Sorry, not arcade machine. You have to build an arcade with 1 retro 80s game, 1 pinball machine, 1 side-scrolling beat-em-up, 1 gun game, 1 sit-down racer, 1 fighter, and 1 wild card. Could be any of the above or some other arcade game. Now, I don't know. You usually put together your lists beforehand.
I did.
I had a feeling that you did. So you can go first while I compile my list.
So I just actually went to Dave & Buster's for the first time in probably 10 years, I would say, this past weekend. So arcade games are actually fresh in my mind. I had a good time for what it was worth. It was a short visit, but some cool stuff. So I'm saying for my 80s retro game, TMNT came out in 89. It still counts as an 80 game. I'm going with Ninja Turtles here. Pinball which was also mentioned in our chat a bunch. Addams Family. How cool was the Addams Family game?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
I believe there was also a Batman Returns one, I want to say. Side-scrolling beat 'em up, Simpsons. Simpsons all day. Gun game. This is where it gets interesting. I just played Terminator and it was terrible. It's just a coin eater.
Did you play it on the 2-up or?
The 2-up. Yeah,
because I also recently played that on the 2-up.
Me and my brother-in-law got in there and he died fast. I died fast. It was just not fun. None of those games are meant to be played long unless you keep putting your swiping your card. So I'm going to go with this. Halo has a gun game that you sit in, you shoot the banshees, you shoot the aliens. It was so much fun that I swiped at least 3 times to continue. It was the same thing. It was very short-lived, and yeah, like you die quick, but there's no way around that. It's an arcade game. They had Mario Kart 64, which was fun, but you got to go Cruising USA. I go Cruising World, whatever it is.
There was another game. I can't remember. Fast and Furious. And I want to say that there's, I can't remember. It'll come to me after we're done here.
The fighter, I'm going Marvel vs. Capcom. And the wild card, Guitar Hero.
Okay. Now for my list, what we'll do is retro 80s arcade game. I'm going to go like Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Jr. Like regular climb up, dodge the barrels, like just original Donkey Kong. Pinball machine, I think I'm going to go either regular Star Wars or the Return of the Jedi Star Wars pinball machine.
Oh, I remember that. Okay.
I recently played on the Mandalorian one, and that was cool. Mandalorian pinball was very, very cool. And I played on a Lord of the Rings one, which was also really, really cool.
What's that? I don't know what Lord of the Rings is.
Oh, you've never heard of it?
That's the one that's like a ripoff Harry Potter, right? Just feel like triggering people.
Oh, boy.
Carry on.
Side-scrolling beat 'em up, going TMNT or Simpsons, maybe a Final Fight, or if we're going, I don't know if Altered Beast was an arcade game. I don't know. There's a lot. It's hard to pick just one. There's a lot of really great ones. Gun game, we're gonna go Time Crisis or House of the Dead.
We played those as well.
Those are good.
Not a fan.
Well, okay.
I liked House of the Dead better than Time Crisis.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up your Jurassic Park one, because that's a sit down.
It was there.
Gun game.
I couldn't get on it, so I don't really remember.
Okay, so that's that we talked about recently. But yeah, you brought that up, so I'm surprised it wasn't there.
And there was a Walking Dead one that I also couldn't get on that someone was on the entire time, where you're Daryl.
Sit down racer, gonna go either Cruising USA, Cruising World. There was a Daytona 500 one I remember being a big thing. I played that a couple times. I cannot remember the one that I'm.
Fast and the Furious had the little like key code buttons to punch in your code and get your cars.
Yeah, that was super, super cool. But I there was just something so satisfying of when you would hit the other buttons and get like the secret hidden cars in Cruising USA. Like I love doing that. It was always so fun. Fighter, Tekken, any Tekken, I don't care. 3, 8. It doesn't matter. 7, whatever. And then the wild card, John, what's my wild card? Let's see if you can guess what it is.
Baseball throw.
DDR.
Oh yeah, you're definitely a DDR.
Give me a DDR machine.
So there was one that was like DDR, but it was like football, like where you have to go through the ladder drill.
Oh, I've seen that. I actually saw someone. I saw someone do that, and they like hurt themselves somehow. It was like they were going. I want to say they were going too fast. Like they were like really cruising along, and all of a sudden, I think they like cramped up, and they were like done. And I was like, oh no,
honestly,
so well.
A day at Dave & Buster's, I felt like I had a complete workout. Guitar Hero ruined my hip. Then I was doing baseball throw because it was accuracy and speed. You got nothing but points for it, like for the little gift shop, which I just gave some kid because what am I going to really buy? And I was just nailing it every time. I'm like, this is fun, but I'm like, there's no outcome here. There's the football, the basketball, DDR, now this football game. I was like, I'm sweating. Air hockey.
There was another game before like Guitar Hero and Rock Band came around. There was called Drum Mania. which was like DDR, which is essentially just like, it was a whole console or a whole arcade cabinet dedicated just to drums. It was it was just like the drum section of Rock Band.
That's fun.
It was super, super cool. I obviously, as a drummer, loved that game. Have you ever played the one where you roll the ball? And it's like a really long machine. You roll the ball and you have to try to land in the specific circles.
Skee ball?
It's no. So it's a Dave & Buster's machine, because I've seen it there. It's a long table, and there's either tiles that you have to roll and flip up, or you have to bounce a ball and like hit the tiles to like change the color. And the goal is to clear the board as fast as you can.
I don't think I know that one.
I gotta see what it is. It's intense. Like my one friend got really, really into it. Like recently, like a couple of years ago, it was just like, I don't know why I can't stop playing. Like, this is the most simple arcade machine, but it's just, there's something so satisfying of watching like the ball bounce on the tiles and change the color. I was just like, hey, listen, whatever you get enjoy, whatever game is giving you the enjoyment. And that's the whole point.
Anyway, want to tell the fine folks what we are playing next week.
Next week, we're getting a little bit more modern. We're going and we are playing WWE Legends of WrestleMania. This is a game that we've talked about a number of times over the course of the last 4 years of doing this podcast. That will never not get weird. 4 years of doing the podcast. So strange. But yeah, we've talked about it a lot. We're finally going to be able to cover it in long form on the podcast. So make sure to check us out next week if you like or know about that game. But youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthrough videos, exclusive content, and a whole lot more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirt designs. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for this show, early and ad-free. You could submit your own soft lock questions and you get access to our exclusive Discord community for just $5 at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please, it really does help out the podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and leave us a review and a rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you have a product or service you would like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. John, I don't want to keep you any longer than you have to. The third podcast needs your attention whenever you're ready, sir.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast, how can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.